Run.
Forget the meth empire. The darkest part of Breaking Bad is not the drugs or violence. It's the twisted father-son dynamic of Walter White with his biological son, Walter Jr., or Flynn, and Jesse Pinkman. Now, I'm Dr. Patrick Kingsep, clinical psychologist, and today we're going to be looking at the 5 most disturbing father-son dynamics in Breaking Bad. So what does it mean to be a good father? And at what point does the need to protect cross into control? So let's understand why Walt's twisted idea of being a father is as dangerous as the meth business he was a part of.
Bring the bottle back.
Sorry, buddy. No can do.
My son, my bottle, my house.
There is no doubt that Flynn, or Walter Jr., has an unwavering sense of morality and ethics, and this is in direct contrast to Walt's life of lies and deception and moral decay. But we don't really see Flynn openly condemn his dad, at least not in the first few seasons. It's just down to Flynn's very presence, his genuine and hopeful nature, which acts as a quiet resistance to the darkness in Walt. This is especially clear in the way that Flynn interacts with his family throughout the series. In the early seasons, we watch Flynn's simple and innocent questions during family breakfasts, like why his father seems so distracted, or why he has these business trips, which serve as reminders of the values his dad is silently betraying. Now, these seemingly humdrum moments highlight Flynn's role as a beacon of normalcy and truth, while Walt's lies pile up. Flynn genuinely believes in his father's integrity and perseverance, which makes Walt's deception all the more painful.
Flynn here is looking for a part-time job, so I don't know if you know of anything you might want to...
My name's Walter Jr. Like what, you can't even say his name?
This unwavering support from Flynn is in complete contrast with Walt's increasingly ruthless behavior, showing just how deep Walt's betrayal of his family's trust goes. The turning point comes in season 5, when Flynn learns the truth about his dad's actions. Instead of reacting with hatred or anger, Flynn's instinct is to protect his mother. He steps between Skylar and Walt during their physical confrontation, yelling at his father to leave and also then just calling the police. This moment is Flynn's ultimate stand, his moral clarity shining through as he takes on the protective role his dad, many moons ago, abandoned.
What are you doing?
Yeah, I need the police. My dad, he put a knife on my mom. He attacked her. He's dangerous. I think he might have killed somebody. Yeah.
The Flynn's moral resilience is also seen in season 5, when he refuses the money that Walt attempts to send him through Saul.
You want to send money?
Flynn's rejection isn't just about not accepting financial help. It's a clear-cut refusal to be tainted by his father's blood money.
I don't give a shit.
You need this money.
Killed Uncle Hank. You killed him.
Needs this money. It can't all be for
What
nothing.
you did? Just shut up. Shut up.
Please.
In that moment, Flynn draws a clear line between himself and Walt, choosing integrity over material gain, even as he grieves the loss of his father that he thought he knew.
I do feel guilty. I am the man that I am, son. There's plenty that I would change about that, but here we are. And this is just what it is.
If we were looking at this through family systems theory, Flynn's refusal to accept Walt's lies and his clear moral boundaries makes him the identified patient, the one who most visibly reacts or makes a stand within the family's dysfunction. He is the one who refuses to let the toxicity around him define who he is. Flynn represents everything Walt has sacrificed: trust, honesty, and a genuine connection with his son. He forces Walt to confront the reality that his ambition to be a good provider has turned into an empty illusion. The family he intended to protect now distances himself, not out of spite, but to persevere their own emotional survival. Flynn serves as a stark reminder that some things like trust and integrity just can't be reclaimed once they've been broken, and no amount of control can change that. Walt's need to fill the void of his own unfulfilled ambitions drives him to project his desires onto both Flynn and Jesse, but in vastly different ways. With Flynn, Walt initially tries to be the father who shields his son from the harsh realities of life, aiming to create a perfect family image that he never had. However, Walt's secret of double life soon shatters this ideal, and he finds himself emotionally distanced from Flynn. The growing gap between them is just a result of Walt's lies, but his realization that Flynn can never be the son who understands or participates in his darker ambitions. As Flynn becomes more disillusioned with Walt's increasingly erratic behavior, Walt shifts his paternal focus to Jesse, who embodies the rebelliousness, the spirit, and the need for guidance that Walt craves to dominate. Jesse becomes a vessel for Walt's unexpressed frustrations and suppressed desires. Now in Season 2, Episode 13, Walt watches silently as Jane chokes to death, not just because he views her as a threat to Jesse's sobriety, but because her influence challenges his role as Jesse's only guiding force. In this moment, Walt's desire to control Jesse's path overshadows any genuine care, marking the point where Jesse becomes a surrogate son, a shadow of everything Walt can't admit to himself. Another turning point is in Season 4, Episode 10, when Jesse steps out of Walt's shadow by successfully managing the lab in Gus's absence. For the first time, Jesse earns genuine respect and recognition from figures of authority who value him for the skills, not for what they can extract from him. This moment threatened Walt's carefully constructed identity as the all-knowing father figure. From a psychological perspective, Walt experiences a form of narcissistic injury, and this is a wound to his self-esteem caused by Jesse's newfound independence. In response, Walt sabotages Jesse's confidence, reinforcing the idea that true loyalty means staying tethered and just connected to him. This highlights Walt's need for enmeshment, which is a dynamic where boundaries a blur and Jesse's identity is back under Walt's control.
I don't know what's wrong with me, Mr. White. I don't know how I could be so stupid.
Now by Season 5, Episode 12, the psychological toll on both men is evident. Jesse starts to see through Walt's manipulative veneer, recognizing that Walt's fatherly guidance was never about care, but about control and power. Jesse's defiance in this episode represents a break from the learned helplessness that Walt has instilled in him, a conditioned belief that he has no purpose outside of Walt's influence.
Hello? Nice try, asshole.
Jesse, where are you? Just want to talk to you.
No, I'm not doing what you want anymore. Okay, asshole?
For Walt, this defiance is intolerable because it shatters his projection of himself as the benevolent, the caring, the loving, the unconditional father. The psychological conflict between them shifts from subtle manipulation to outright domination as Walt struggles to force Jesse back into his predetermined role. Jesse's sad psychological breakdown in Season 5, Episode 14, becomes a mirror for Walt's own unraveling. While Jesse's pain is visible and raw, expressed through his cries and desperate actions, Walt's breakdown is masked by a need to justify his manipulations as acts of protection. In the end, their relationship is not just about failed fatherhood, but the toxic consequences of projecting one's unfulfilled desires onto another, leaving emotional devastation as a result.
He cares about you. Can't you see?
Oh, yeah, you mean when he's not ripping me off or calling me an idiot or poisoning people that I care about.
Jesse's deep need for acceptance and validation makes him the perfect target for Walt's manipulations, leading to his psychological unraveling. Jesse's background isn't one of neglect, but of deep emotional rejection. He craves acknowledgement, which draws him to form bonds with those who mirror his own struggles, even if those connections are destructive.
Yeah, no, Mr. White's gay for me. Everyone knows that.
I mean it. Paid for your rehab, ran over those 2 drug dealers with his car. Sounds like he saved your life. Made you a 50-50 partner. He didn't need to do that.
Yeah, you know.
His attachment to Walt stems from this void, a need for validation that his own family they couldn't fulfill. This makes his attachment to Walt even more tragic, as it leads him down a dark path. We watch as he becomes a shell of a person. In season 5, Jesse's breakdown over understanding what happened in Brock's poisoning reveals the devastation of his dependence on Walt.
So Gus didn't poison him after all.
Despite knowing the toxicity of the relationship, Jesse keeps returning to Walt, driven by a hope that something is just going to change. It's not just about craving a father figure. It's about finding someone who sees him, even if that vision is corrupted. While Jesse's upbringing doesn't align with the markers of attachment disorder or disinhibited social engagement disorder, his behavior still shows a pattern of seeking emotional attachment in unhealthy relationships due to the deep rejection he feels from his family's inability to fix him. We watch Jesse's mental health deteriorate as a result of his entanglement with Walt. And he very much exhibits signs and symptoms of chronic post-traumatic stress disorder, nightmares and flashbacks, guilt, emotional numbness, and self-blame. Jesse's struggle is tragic. Every traumatic event with Walt deepens his psychological scars, leaving him clinging to a man who validates his existence only conditionally. It's a form of love that's destructive, pulling him deeper into darkness with every attempt to find meaning and connection. Walt and Jesse's relationship is a codependent cycle of rebellion, where each fuels the other's worst instincts. From the moment Walt transforms into Heisenberg, he isn't just asserting control.
Say my name.
Heisenberg.
You're goddamn right.
He's showing Jesse a path of defiance, validating Jesse's urge to rebel against the expectations of his middle-class upbringing. Jesse's rebellious streak isn't just about defying authority. It's his desperate way of seeking a place in a world that has repeatedly rejected him. Every act of rebellion alongside Walt is an attempt to prove he's not a failure, to find his self-worth in the chaos. This is why their dynamic becomes just so twisted. Instead of guiding Jesse toward growth, Walt enables and rewards his most reckless behavior, feeding into Jesse's need to feel valued. The shared thrill of breaking rules deepens their connection. Walt in defiance of his mundane life as a teacher, and Jesse rejecting the standards set by his disappointed parents. Jesse's murder of Gail in season 3, it's a turning point, an act of rebellion meant to prove his loyalty and worth to Walt.
Hi. How can I help you? You don't have to do this.
It's the ultimate sacrifice, driven by a need to earn Walt's approval. Yet even as Jesse begins to see the toxicity of their bond, he can't escape the feeling of belonging found in their shared defiance. Jesse picks up the pieces of Walt's destruction, even as Walt manipulates him into darker actions. Their final rupture in season 5, when Walt betrays Jesse to the neo-Nazis, marks the tragic end of a relationship built on mutual validation and destruction. Walt's desire for a legacy drives him to use Flynn and Jesse as extensions of his own ego, stripping them of their own individuality. Flynn becomes a living measure of Walt's success, a way to showcase himself as the ultimate provider. By leaving behind wealth and the story of a heroic father who sacrificed everything, Walt wants to be admired, even if it means hiding his criminal empire.
Listen, I need you to come inside and pack right now.
Mom, Aunt Marie, they said that you were arrested? They say that you're some kind of drug dealer?
This need drives him to manipulate Flynn's perception, turning financial success into a symbol of his greatness. It's a classic form of narcissistic parenting, using his son, his child, to reflect his own perceived success, while ignoring who Flynn actually is and what he genuinely needs.
Dad, stop! Just talk to me, please.
Our priority right now is to pack.
Uncle Hank,
all right?
they said he
listen, I will
arrested you?
discuss all of this later, okay?
Just tell me
listen
what-
to me. Just listen to me!
Whilst Walt's relationship with Jesse goes beyond manipulation, it's about creating a darker legacy through control. Jesse becomes the surrogate son, but not for nurturing. He's a vessel through which Walt can extend his power.
He cares about you. Can't you see?
Oh, yeah, you mean when he's not ripping me off or calling me an idiot or poisoning people that I care about.
Unlike Flynn, who represents Walt's legitimate public legacy, Jesse symbolizes the secret, darker side of Walt's identity, the drug empire, the ruthlessness, and the thrill of control.
No. No! No! No!
Wait.
Walt doesn't just want Jesse to follow him. He wants Jesse to become a continuation of his influence, a shadow of himself in the drug world. This drive is about maintaining power long after Walt is gone, immortalizing himself through Jesse's choices, even if it means destroying Jesse's sense of self. Walt's need to be admired and remembered corrupts any chances for an authentic father-son relationship. His vision of fatherhood isn't about love. It's about leaving a mark, an imprint that will outlast him. This toxic drive poisons every interaction, leading him to manipulate, to betray, and to control. The deeper Walt's obsession with immortality grows, the more his sons, both Flynn and Jesse, are stripped of their individuality. They become extensions of Walt's identity, reduced to roles that serve his ego. This drive leaves emotional wreckage in its wake, as both Flynn and Jesse are left to deal with the consequences of a father who saw them not as individuals, but as pieces of his fractured narcissistic self. The true tragedy of Breaking Bad is not just the drug empire that Walt built, but the lives he shattered in the pursuit of validation. It really forces us to ask the question, is it ever okay for parents to see their child as an extension of themselves, even if it's for what they believe is a greater purpose? The story of Walter White is not just about crime or anti-heroism. It's a warning of what happens when power becomes more important than people, and when a father's identity becomes entangled with his children's choices. Flynn and Jesse are left to pick up the pieces of a shattered legacy, mirroring the reality that children often carry the emotional weight of their parents' unmet needs. In the end, Breaking Bad asks us to look beyond the explosions and the empire building to see the quiet tragedy beneath it all. A father who became his own worst enemy, and the sons who paid the price. It's a cautionary tale, urging us to question the cost of control, the need for validation, and what it truly means to be a protector. The show's legacy isn't just about the fall of Heisenberg. It's about the cost of failed fatherhood and the emotional toll that toxic dynamics leave behind, both on screen and in real life. Now, I'm Dr. Patrick Kingsep, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic. So drop me a line and let me know if you saw these dynamics when watching Breaking Bad. And if you like this video, please click on to the next one above.